Hey guys, I am sitting at my neglected garlic bed, and it is neglected no more. I did a previous video on this bed, and I showed all the garlic that I had in it, and I explained about growing garlic, but I didn't show actually doing it. And some people kind of commented on that. I'm going to plant about 6 or 7 new varieties in here, and the reason why is because now I got a lot of garlic out of this. I got plenty to eat, but I didn't know the varieties that I was eating or harvesting. And also, because a lot of times people would come over and just harvest garlic out here, and they'd like it, and they'd say, what variety is that? And I'd say, I have no clue. I had tons of different varieties in here. I just throw new ones in whenever I had them. And so it was unsightly, it was ugly, and it's time now to take better care of this bed. So I'm going to plant new garlic in this thing, and that way I'll be able to maintain it a little bit better, and I'll know exactly what varieties I have. So, but anyways, like I was saying, I didn't show the actual planting, but the reason is because it's a no-brainer. It's the simplest thing on the planet, and I'm not going to explain all the. I'll leave a link below to the other video. People wanted to see an actual video of me planting the garlic, which is actually kind of boring, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. What I'm not going to do, a lot of people will, when they make their holes, they'll put in blood meal or bone meal or anything. I don't do that. I plant in pure compost. That's all this is just pure compost. And I make my holes and I cover it up. And now I will come back after they start coming up in a few months or so, depending on how the weather holds. If the weather holds, I might start getting greens real soon. But if it starts getting real cold, then I might not get greens until February, March or so. But anyways, I have this little tool that I use. Well, this isn't the one I use. I had to make another one. I can't find another one. But basically, I've just taken a cross piece of wood. I've gone up about 1.5 to 2 inches, and then I just go like this, and I poke a hole like that, drop it in. It kind of gives me an idea of where the how deep it needs to be. You don't have to do that, but it just gives me an idea. What you can do is stick your finger in here and then use this as a template or whatever, kind of just to see. But 1.5 inches, you don't even have to have this. You can just put your finger and have a mark here, and then just whatever works. You can just also eyeball it. One of the rules of thumb is to, a rule of thumb, right? The depth of your thumb. Some people use that. It's called the rule of thumb. And then others just say, take your clove and plant it twice the depth of the clove. So if your clove is 3/4 of an inch, then you plant it 1.5 inches deep. So any method that you use is going to work. You don't necessarily have to have one of these. I had one that I made out of PVC pipe, but mysteriously disappeared like everything else around here. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring you in closer. I'm going to show you. Now I'm planting mostly soft neck because it does best in our area here. I do have one variety of hardneck, Shantung Purple, I believe. The rest of them, Susanville, and well, I'm not going to go through all the different varieties right now, but I'll put a list below of the varieties that I am growing. I've grown some of these in the past, and they've done incredibly well for me. I will say, though, that typically soft necks do good in the south where it's warm and have mild winters. Hard necks do better up north where you get some harsher winters and whatnot. Just you can try growing both. I mean, garlic's not that expensive, so try growing 2 different kinds, see what does best in your area. And like I've always said before, ask somebody at your local extension or at your nursery, and they'll be more than happy. You can even buy garlic at your local nursery, because this is the time to plant. So I know a lot of people will plant in the spring. I don't plant in the spring because I haven't had great luck. I've had just small bulbs, and they seem to do better when you do fall planting. You get bigger, healthier bulbs, I think. So I always plant my garlic in the fall. So I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I plant my garlic by request. Okay, so the first one is the Shantung Purple. Now, a lot of people will plant their garlic, they say 3 to 4 inches apart. I don't do that because I think that that's a little bit too close, because your garlic is going to be, its radius is going to be a couple inches. Hopefully you're going to want to get the best, growth out of it. And so when they get too close together, they're competing for nutrients. And so I like to give them a lot more room than most people. So I'm going to plant these probably 5 to 6 inches apart. And as always, you want to take your biggest cloves. So I went ahead already, and you want to split your cloves up like the day or so before you do this. But this is a Shantung Purple. And these are huge. I took the biggest cloves out of this. And I'm going to go 4 across here. This is almost a well, it's a 32-inch bed. So I'm going to go 4 here, and then it'll give me 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it'll be 6-inch spacing. So 6, 6, 6, 6. So 6 times 5 is 30. So that's the way I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to be like really particular about making sure my rows are straight and stuff, because it's not really that big of a deal to me. I know a lot of people are like, no, it's got to be perfect. Well, I'm not into perfect. So I'm just using the rule of thumb method, and I'm dropping it in and covering it up. And I'm going to come back through here, and I'm going to water this in really good. I told you it was boring. And by the way, when you split your garlic apart to plant, you want to leave the paper skin on. You don't want to take it off. Okay, and then what you do is, when you're measuring things, it's a good idea to know how big your hand is. Now my hand, from the tip to my thumb to the tip to my pinky, is 10 inches. So I know that right about here in this crook right here is about 6 inches. So all I have to do is go like this, and I know that crook right there is about 6 inches. And so it's a good idea to know exactly how big your hand is. And when you plant these, you want to make sure you plant the pointed portion up, and this is the root. You could tell was the root before. So that goes in like that, and then I go like this, and it's right about there. And so I can pretty much guess once I'm here, I'm just going to eyeball it like this, like that. So, and once you've done this a million times, it'll just be a walk in the park. So this is the Shantung Purple, and I'm going to grow 12 of these. I picked the 12 biggest cloves, okay? And then to remember that, you could always just put a clump like that, and then you just go on here like that. And so I'm going to go ahead and finish off the Shantung, and then I'll put a list below of the varieties that I'm growing, and just in case you're wondering. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to plant my 6 or 7 varieties, and then when I'm done with that, I'll come back and show you. There's not much left after that, pretty much just watering, but let me go ahead and plant these. Well, that was easy as pie. I ended up planting 6 different varieties plus 1 row of elephant garlic. And I actually do have a little bit of, I've got looks like about 6 feet of raised bed left, and that end there is where I'm going to plant some fall onions, and so stay tuned for that video. Now, the only thing left to do is I'm going to water this in really good, soak it really good, and then I'm just going to basically leave it alone. And then come springtime, well, it depends. If our weather holds and it stays warm, I'm going to start seeing some green in a month or so. But if we start getting our normal fall, which will be 30s at night and 40s, 50s during the day, then it's going to take a little bit longer. And because we've been getting 60s and even 70 during the day, it'll take a little bit longer. But if it gets down really cold and all of a sudden we get, lots of heavy frost and it starts snowing and whatnot, which it doesn't do a lot here in 7B, then it may be January, February, March before I get some significant green. But when that does happen, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mulch it with wood chips. I don't want to do it now because it's going to take it'll basically be too deep for the garlic to shoot up through for the scapes and whatnot to come up, and I just don't want to add any more stress to them. So anyways, I tamped them down. You want to make sure that you tamp them down a little bit. You don't want to have it too loose, because when they come up, they could easily fall over and whatnot. And especially when the wind comes up and those scapes come up, the wind starts pushing those scapes, and you don't want a lot of loose ground. But the bulbs will start growing and compact it a little bit. But I do press it down a little, make sure that I've got some nice firm medium here for them to grow in. And then, yeah, mulching. Now, one advantage to growing in a raised bed like this, specifically the cinder blocks, is I can go ahead with a Sharpie and just put a little line right here as to where each row is. Now, that's not going to last. It's going to wash away. But it'll kind of give me an idea now, especially when I'm planting them along. And then when I'm done, I can go back through and count the rows or whatever. It's going to be, it just gives me a little kind of a visual idea of where each row is planted. And just in case I want to come back and look at it. But anyways, garlic is one of the easiest things to grow. If you've never grown anything, garlic is the thing to grow. It grows in almost any kind of soil, any kind of medium or dirt, compost, regular soil. Unless it's really too hard, it won't. But pH, it doesn't really mind pH. I've grown it in lots of different pH, and it just seems to thrive. And so it's a very easy thing to grow. I suggest if you haven't grown anything before, grow garlic. And if you've never grown garlic before, grow garlic. It's the easiest thing in the world. But anyways, there it is. This is my bed that I'm not going to neglect anymore. I'm going to take better care of it now. And all right. Anyways, I'm kind of excited about the new garlic bed. So, all right, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch y'all later.